Welcome back to Creating Realistic MIDI Performances, a free class dedicated to helping you make the most out of your sound libraries. Now, in the previous videos, we learned about building an orchestral template by selecting the libraries you're going to need and routing them properly so that you are prepared to create a realistic sound. The next steps are to start addressing mic positioning, panning, and reverb to the best of your ability. And today we're going to tackle the first one, mic positioning. The point of these parameters, mic positioning, panning, and reverb, is to create the illusion of the physical space your digital instruments will inhabit. It's sort of like picking the type of room that you want your studio musicians to record in. Most professional libraries, including budget-friendly options like Musio, will have at least 3 different types of mic positions that you can choose from. The Decca Tree, the Ambient outrig mics, and the close mic. The Decca Tree mic is arguably the most important and useful. It's a collection of 3 microphones, pointed left, center, and right, that are placed about 2 meters up in the air, just behind the conductor. Their job is to record the sound of your entire orchestra from the perspective of the conductor and audience. Unless you have a very specific type of sound in your mind, you'll probably want to use this as your primary microphone, and then just simply use the other 2 types as support if needed. The ambient or outrig mics are a series of microphones set at the extreme ends of your room. Think back corners. Their job is more along the lines of capturing room tone and reverb, and not so much a clear, detailed sound of the instruments themselves. For this example, I'm going to use my Ambient 1 library, which was recorded with lots of natural reverb. Here we have the original Decca Tree. And now the ambient outrig mics. Hear the difference? It's a little subtle, but it's there. If for whatever reason you decide that you want to use more ambient or outrig mics in your mix, the method I am going to recommend is to start with your Decca Tree mic. Then, with your ambient and outrig mics set to 0, slowly start to raise them, playing around, until you can just start to notice a difference. When you can just barely notice the impact, stop, don't add any more, you've got enough. Because you don't want to overdo it. Using too much of your ambient mics will run the risk of muddying up your sound and making it sound less expressive. Finally, the close or spot mics are a series of microphones placed very close to the musicians. Their job is to focus on recording just a few instruments at a time. They capture a lot more detail on each instrument, but can very quickly sound unrealistic in an orchestral mockup. After all, it's just unrealistic to hear the clicking of a flute player's keys when a whole orchestra is being played. Generally speaking, you want to use these mics much more sparingly, and only when you need to give a little subtle boost to a solo instrument or 2. Usually, sticking to just a Decca Tree for your mics will be more than enough to do the job. Honestly, 2 of the only common-ish situations in which you may want to play around with your mic positions are, number 1, if you want to work with a featured soloist in your arrangement, and number 2, if you are working with only a single sound library or sound library series, like Spitfire Studio Woodwinds, Musio's Cine Orchestra, the Ambient series, Metropolis Arc, etc., and you actively want to create a more 3-dimensional sound using the mic positions. Again, I want to highlight the word actively here. Messing around with your mic positions can very quickly hurt the realism of your sound. So it's something you want to do proactively, not reactively. In other words, only start messing with mic positions if you can honestly say, yes, I want to change this mix because of insert very specific reason. If you're thinking something more along the lines of, I should probably do something with my mic positions because I feel like that's what professional mixing engineers do, or because a book that I read says I should be doing that, or because this YouTuber I really admire always messes with mic positions in their templates. All right, if that's your reasoning, don't touch it. If you really want to know about mic positioning, play around with your sounds a little bit more. Build an understanding of how the different mic positions impact your libraries so your decision making can be made deliberately. Now, if you plan on featuring a soloist in your arrangement, you can use the same strategy we learned earlier. Start with your Decca mic set to maximum, then slowly start to raise the close mic until you can just barely start to hear the impact. Once you can, stop, because a little bit goes a long way. However, if you are trying to create more of a three-dimensional sound, my recommendation to use an orchestra seating chart as reference and follow the basic guideline. The further away the instruments are from the conductor, the more ambient mic I should have mixed in. So for example, violin 1, add just barely enough ambient mic to notice the difference. But when you work with the trumpets, they could probably work with a little bit more. Spitfire libraries in particular make this super easy because they have this little master mix fader that allows you to build your mix based off a visual representation of how far you want your instruments to sound. The default is mostly tree mic with maybe a little bit of close mic mixed in. If you want your players right up on the microphone, it swaps to just close mic. If you want them super far away, only the ambient mic. And as you play around and select your distance, you can see how it adds a mix of the various tree and ambient mics to help create the mix you're looking for. The reason why I don't really recommend playing around with mic positions if you're using a combination of multiple different libraries is because of the ambient mic. Remember, the purpose of the ambient mic is to record more of the room. If you're using multiple libraries recorded in different rooms, then you are increasing the mix of a lot of different spaces, which is just going to make things sound uncanny, a little more unrealistic, and make it harder to sell your instruments as being a cohesive orchestra. But again, mic positioning isn't nearly as important as panning and reverb. It's a fun option if you have the inclination. And I do recommend playing around and exploring because learning more about the libraries you have is always a good thing. But you are more than welcome to stick with the vanilla pre-mixed positions found in your library if you prefer. So with all of that, let's take another break. If you are working with soloists, or if you want to just play around with the mic positions of the library series you're working with, go do that now. As with every step in building an orchestral template, it's gonna take some time. But explore what you've got. And in the next video, we will reconvene to tackle the issue of panning and building your orchestra's stereo field. I want to take a quick moment to thank my patrons, channel members, and generous donors who helped make this new series possible. I appreciate each of you more than you know. You can help support future videos by joining as a member or by purchasing one of the ebooks and instructional manuals available on my website. I also offer private lessons on a limited basis, and more information will be found with the link below. Another quick reminder, if you are looking for a project to work with while you practice these techniques, you can purchase the PDF score and MIDI files of the piece I will be sequencing in this series for $5 using the link below. So until next time, my friends, keep studying, keep working hard, and keep writing new music. I will see you in the next video.